So I am trying to record, and is it working on your computer?
No.
It's recording, I think. Can you see?
I think it's because you have the two.
Yeah, I got into another device to see whether I can record it.
It says, I think it's recording because there is an option here saying that pause recording, stop recording. That means it is recording. Just give me a second.
It's giving a noise. I try to.
Yeah, because
one.
So both devices are in the same room. That's why they're echoing.
Yeah. So leave from one. It's better now?
Yeah.
Can you see me?
Yes, but your face is not
correct. I'm trying to fix that. Yeah.
It'll come down a little bit.
Come down now.
No, the other way.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Some more.
Some more?
Yes.
Because I normally do it from home. I had a client, so I had to come up to the office.
Oh.
Is that okay now? Better?
Still your face is...
No, I'll fix it now. I need to see. Okay, I can see that now. Now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my wife, Vasanta.
Oh, I know her. We met before.
Yes. And Lawrence Patinath is there. And David Voratsky. Okay. Maybe probably we can start with some. Can you see the screen, the share screen, the Word document?
Yeah, it was there previously. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. So do you want me to start with that? Somebody can do it. Yeah.
We're acknowledging the indigenous people in the land, and then read number 1.
Okay.
And And then can I ask David, can you read number 2? Is David there?
Yeah, number 2.
Yes.
Okay.
Are all the words in the right place, or it has to move on to one side?
Pardon?
I think 1 or 2 words could be hidden behind the faces, or
On the
slightly
screen there.
on this side. Yeah.
If you
If you can't do it, don't worry.
no, that's in your screen. On the view, you can choose the speaker mode or there are 9 dots.
Right. Okay. That's fine.
Is it better now?
It's okay. We'll do whatever it's. Yeah.
And what is that? So Father number 1, 2 is David. 3 Basanda. 4. I will read number 4. And 5. Lawrence Patinath. Can you do 5?
Okay.
5.
Generally in Gadigal land, where I would be, we pay respect to the past, present, and the future and emerging elders of the indigenous people. Indigenous land, and it always be indigenous land. I'll read the first prayer. It is seemingly that the servant should, after each prayer, supplicate God to bestow mercy and forgiveness upon his parents. Thereupon God's call will be raised, thousands upon thousands of what they has asked for thy parents shall be thy recompense. Blessed is he who remembereth his parents when communing with God. There is verily no God but him, the mighty, the well-beloved. Baha'i scripture.
The great being saith, the heaven of divine wisdom is illumined with the 2 luminaries of consultation and compassion. Take ye counsel together in all matters, inasmuch as consultation is the lamp of guidance that leadeth the way. It is the bestower of understanding. Consultation bestoweth greater awareness and transmuteth conjecture into certitude. It is a shining light which in a dark world leadeth the way and guideth. For everything there is and will continue to be a station of perfection and maturity. The maturity of the gift of understanding is made manifest through consultation. Say, no man can attain his true station except through his justice. No power can exist through unity. No welfare and no well-being can be attained except through consultation.
If he be aware of certain truth, if he put
You had to unmute. You had to unmute.
okay.
Again.
No, it's going back.
Unmute.
Okay. If you be aware of certain truth, if you possess a jewel of which others are deprived, share it with them in a language of utmost kindliness and goodwill. If it be accepted, If it fulfills its purpose, your object is attained. If anyone should refuse it, leave him unto himself and beseech God to guide him. Beware lest ye deal unkindly with him. A kindly tongue is the lodestone of the hearts of men. It is the bread of the spirit. It clotheth the words with meaning. It is a fountain of light, of wisdom and understanding.
Sweet big glances we exchange, our faces showing true concord. Enshrine me in your heart and let one spirit dwell within us. I wrap around you this my robe, which came to me from Manu, so that you may be wholly mine and never seek another. I am he, you are she. I am song, you are verse. I am heaven, you are earth. We two shall here together dwell, becoming parents of children. In the scripture.
Not to consort with fools, rather with the wise. Consorting and honoring the honorable, this is the highest blessing. Living in befitting places, having previously done meritorious actions, and rightly guiding oneself, this is the highest blessing. Ample learning and a craft, being well trained in discipline, and that speech which is well spoken. This is the highest blessing. Support of mother and father, cherishing of wife and children, ways of work without conflict. This is the highest blessing.
Maybe we can go in the same order. Father Jagasodi, David,
Okay.
Vasanta.
Hear, ye children, the instructions of a father, and attend to know understanding. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law. For I was my father's son, tender and only beloved in the sight of my mother. He taught me also, and said unto me, let thine heart retain my words. Keep my commandments and live. Get wisdom, get understanding. Forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Exalt her, and she shall promote thee. She shall bring thee to honor when thou dost embrace her. She shall give to thine head an ornament of grace, a crown of glory shall she deliver to thee. Hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of thy life shall be many. In Jewish scripture.
Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I have become sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understanding all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have attained all faith, so that I could remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not love, it profits me nothing. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails, but whether there are prophecies, they will fail. Whether there are tongues, they will cease. Whether there is knowledge, it will vanish away.
In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, we have commanded people to honor their parents. Their mothers born them in hardship and delivered them in hardship. Their period of bearing and wearing is 30 months. In time when the child reacheth their prime, at the age of 40, they pray, my Lord, inspire me to always be thankful for your favors, which you blessed me and my parents with, and to do good deeds that please you, and instill righteousness in my offering. I truly repent to you, and I truly submit to your will. It is from these people that we will accept the good they did and overlook their misdeed, along with the resident of paradise, in fulfillment of the true promise they have been given.
Next one for Chandrika.
Yeah, I'll do that. I beg thy forgiveness, O my God, and implore pardon after the manner thou wishest thy servants to direct themselves to thee. I beg to thee to wash away our sins as befitteth thy lordship, and to forgive me, my parents, and those who, in thy estimation, have entered the abode of thy love in a manner which is worthy of thy transcendent sovereignty and well beseem the glory of thy celestial power. O my God, thou hast inspired my soul to offer its supplication to thee, and but for thee, I would not call upon thee. Lauded and glorified art thou. I yield thee praise in as much as thou didst reveal thy full unto me, and I beg thee to forgive me, since I have fallen short in my duty to know thee and have failed to walk in the path of thy love.
Okay. Thank you very much. And Marina is there.
Sorry, I'm a bit
Marina
late.
just joined. I must thank Chandrika for accepting to give the talk. This is our individual family effort to bring some understanding among the various religions and to bring peace and unity in the society. I think all of you received the description about Chandrika, so I don't want to go and repeat it.
Don't repeat it, please.
They all have received it, but I had to say that Chandrika actually lost her husband only a month ago.
Oh,
And
sorry to hear that, Chandrika.
yes, and in spite of that, she was gracious and kind enough to accept to come and talk because she is passionate about these issues, and she's active in the community to bring about peace and unity and justice in many ways. And he's also an author and writer and a speaker. So much of achievements. Okay, so I don't know whether is it recording.
It's recording.
Okay, so
it shows recording. Hopefully.
Okay, now I leave it you to give your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Siva Peri, and all the colleagues here today, friends from Baha'i faith and who believe in interfaith and harmony. When Mr. Perry asked whether anybody would be interested in doing this, and the first thing it was striking to me was domestic violence. If we are peaceful at home, we are peaceful at every place. That's what my belief. So during the Corona period or the COVID period, a lot of families have split, and there are a lot of issues in the families and a lot of tensions, and it goes up to the level of divorces and stuff. And most of the people who come from overseas do not know what is domestic violence in this country. They have different opinions, they have different cultures. Accordingly, they behave in a different way to the laws of this country. So I thought, why not I speak about domestic violence, which I do with every community out of my interest and passion due to my previous job as a domestic violence officer. And currently, I deal with a lot of AVOs in my legal profession. Domestic and family violence, it's not our culture. That's my topic today. Not now, never, ever. What is domestic violence? It's interpersonal violence and abuse, which is aimed at controlling a partner through use of power and fear. The power and fear go hand in hand because one person fears, the other person shows the power and exercise the power. It can exist within range of intimate or previously intimate or personal relationship. That means it can be in a married life or in a relationship, or it can be there are two people in sharing an accommodation where they can exercise this kind of power and fear game. Relationship means what kind of a relationship? With whom do we have relationship? Informal care relationship can be one part of it, can also be considered violent or abusive if carer uses their power to intimidate, control, or abuse the person in their care. Everyone, regardless of their age, socio-economic status, sexuality, gender, and culture, race, and geographical location can be affected. People think in western suburbs we have more domestic violence, but the highest record is in northern suburbs. So where you have rich people, they have money, they have affluence, they have other comforts, but still domestic violence exists in those areas. Family violence refers to violence, abuse between other immediate and extended family. It need not be partner, it can be with sisters and brothers, it can be with so many other relationships, includes abuse between parents, children, elders, siblings, and others. That's the definition. What is violence? Domestic and family violence is an abuse of power perpetrated mainly, but not only, by men against women in a relationship, or even after separation or even after divorce. This goes extended. It occurs when one partner attempts to physically and or psychologically dominate and control the other partner. What are the kinds of violence we see today? Threats, intimidation, sexual harassment, exploitation, physical and mental torture, domestic violence, dowry-related violence, especially from subcontinent families. The dowry is a big issue. That kind of violences, early or forced marriage causes incompatibility and misunderstanding, change of culture, change of workplace, change of families, and all these things causes violence. Family violence and sexual violence is also included under violence. What kind of violence we see today in the world is genital mutilation is kind of a violence considered. Rape, including rape within marriage, without consent, the husband cannot have a sexual relationship with the wife. Forced pregnancy, abortion or sterilization, forced prostitution, trafficking in women, child abuse, pedophilia, incest. Domestic and family violence facts I would like to present here. 1 in 6 Australian women have experienced physical abuse at the hands of current or former partner. That means it doesn't belong to any particular culture or anybody coming from a backward community or an underdeveloped country. It is existing even in the Australian communities. 1 in 4 Australian women have experienced emotional abuse by current or former partner. 1 in 19 Australian men will experience physical or sexual violence from a partner or a former partner. Even it happens to men. Women are sometimes, they do, I don't want to use the word, but they are the worst devils. 66,000 incidents of domestic violence and family violence were reported to police in the year 2013-2014. On average, across Australia, one woman is killed by her partner every week. To be honest with you, between 2018 and 2019, it's about 20 Indian women were killed in domestic violence situation. Domestic and family violence facts continues with 61 people of people had children in their care when the violence occurred, including 48% who stated the children had seen and heard the violence. Children are present in 1 in 3 domestic and family violence matters, reported police in Australia. Statistically speaking, boys who witness domestic and family violence are twice as likely to abuse their own partners and children when they become adults. So that means we are nurturing a culture by setting a model. We are violent and our children will become more violent and they behave in a very unruly way. It is estimated only 14 to 36% of subjected to domestic and family violence report to the police. That means nearly 2/3 of the incidents are not reported due to their cultural background, due to their language barriers, due to many other reasons, family, force, and other things. Now we'll see the forms of domestic violence. It's sexual violence, physical violence, emotional and psychological violence, stalking. Now with the mobile phone, they can stalk more, damage to personal properties, throwing the phones, taking our wife's phone, reading the messages and say, you can't talk to your parent and breaking it, social and spiritual, financial violence, and verbal abuse. These are kind of things where you show your power and you create a fear in the mind of the other partner. Physical abuse, somebody wants to ask a question. I'll finish this. I'll give some question time so you can ask questions. Types of abuse is physical abuse is like kicking, slapping, pinching, hitting, punching, pushing, pulling, choking, and property damage. Property damage is physical violence. Emotional abuse is jealousy. I have seen families where the husband says when they migrate here, I want to get the driver's license first because I don't want you to pass before me. That's out of jealousy. And a wife gets a promotion, the husband can't find a job, that's jealousy. Anger, intimidation, controlling, neglect, humiliation, threats, isolation, and verbal abuse are emotional abuse. What are social abuse? Being stopped from meeting or seeing friends or family, not allowed to leave the home, being stalked, preventing them from visiting their relatives, preventing them from visiting their colleagues, friends, not allowing them to do any social activities. What are the sexual abuse? Forcing and causing sexual acts, rape, and having sex without consent. Economic abuse is controlling access to money and other resources, forced to live without money. The wife's salary goes straight into a joint account, but she's never even given a bank card to withdraw $5. She needs $5. She has to ask the husband whether she can do it. She can't buy the clothes she likes. She can't spend money on her own. These are economic abuse. Physical abuse is direct assault, sometimes using weapons, driving dangerously, abuse of pets. It includes physical abuse, assault of children, locking the woman out of the house, locking the woman in the house. All these things are considered as physical abuse. Sexual abuse, I told you, sex without consent, assaulting the genitals, deliberately causing pain during sex, forced sex without protection against pregnancy or sexually transmitted disease, making women perform sexual acts unwillingly, criticizing usual sexually degrading insults, using a female figure and degrading them, insulting them, is sexual abuse. And sometimes people also do pornographic videographing and other things, which is also considered as sexual abuse. Verbal abuse, continuous criticism. You're not useful. You don't know how to dress. My colleagues are very polished and their behavior is nice. You're coming from a village. That kind of a humiliation. Attacks on intelligence. You are an idiot. You studied only up to 10th. You are useless in this country. You can't speak English. Then they use the sexuality to damage them. Body image. They said you're fat. You can't, I don't like your figure. Capacity as a parent, you're not able to talk to my children, understand how they're studying and stuff. Verbal abuse includes continuous criticism, swearing and humiliation, attacks on body image and sexuality and intelligence and capacity as a parent. Emotional abuse includes blaming a woman at all the problems in a relationship. They say, because of you, I'm not able to do that. You're not lucky for me. I'm not able to do anything because you're coming from a very poor family, nobody to support me from your family, and this kind of stuff. Constantly comparing women with others to undermine her self esteem and self worth. Always being in a bad mood. Sometimes because of the work pressure, the husbands emotionally abuse women because of they always get stressed out for simple things, withdrawing all interest, and they don't like to talk to the wife at home. They're always on phones. They always chat with their friends, always stick to the television and stuff. It's all emotional abuse. Social abuse is isolating the family and friends through techniques such as being rude to families and friends. If a wife brings a work partner, to home, they don't talk to the husband, doesn't talk to her, and never encourage such kind of things, and they don't want her to go for picnic, office picnic or Christmas party and stuff like that. Moving to location where a woman doesn't know anyone, that's also social abuse. You take her to somewhere in one of the northern territory and keep her in isolation. She cannot contact anyone. That's social abuse. Forbidding or physically preventing a woman from going out and meeting people, blocking calls, phone calls, tracking mobile phones. It happened to one of my family member, unfortunately. It happened. They saw the phone calls and they started telling, why did you call this person? She may be your aunt, but we don't want you to talk to her. So I'm unable to help her because being the family, there'll be more chaos if I interfere with that. Spiritual abuse, denying access to ceremonies, land, or family. If the wife is in different religion or different faith, you don't allow her to follow her faith, preventing religious observance, forcing a woman to do against her beliefs, criticizing her cultural background, using religious teaching and cultural tradition as a reason for violence. Sometimes the husbands don't allow to you practice what she believes or what she was brought up with, some cultural practices and beliefs. So these are the things one cannot control, and if they're controlling, it's spiritual abuse. Economic abuse, as I said, the husband has control over all the money. The wife can never spend any money, no access to bank accounts, providing only inadequate allowances, not control spending money, complete control of finances and money. And the bank thing, in bank, everywhere they put only the husband can operate. Now the wife has no right to do anything. So one fine morning, she calls the bank and said, I'm not able to withdraw the money. He said, it's only one person authorized. Until then, she won't even know what's happening with that account and stuff. I'm telling all these things. I have seen all these examples in my life as a solicitor, as a domestic violence officer, and some of my family members and friends. So the myths, let us see the myths and facts. Domestic and family violence only occurs working and poorer families. No, it happens in all communities from all social and cultural groups. Violent men cannot control themselves, their behavior is out of their control. This is not true. If men cannot control their violent behaviors, then they would try to dominate and control everybody, including their bosses, their work friends, and other people they come to contact with. They don't do that. They only do to the wives because there's fear in their mind, either by cultural thing or family force or some other reason. Women enjoy being abused, otherwise they would leave the situation as a myth. Women do not like being abused, but they are made speechless about their rights. So this is the thing, they need to get support systems to build their confidences, how they can fight against their abuse. Loving, caring partners do not use violence. It's one of the myths. Violence can happen even in most loving and caring relationship. Sometimes they get anger that moment, and next time they will come and say, I'm sorry, I will not do again. And after 3 months in another incident, the same behavior will be repeated. So it's a myth that loving, caring partners do not use violences. Only small number of women have experienced family or domestic violence. No, it's larger number, as I say. According to statistics, it's about 60% now. It's not reported. Alcohol and stress are to be blamed for domestic violence. Alcohol and stress are not excuse for domestic violence. It is your mindset where you are already, you have stereotyped what you are want to behave when you want to do. And when you drink alcohol, you get, or when you are stressed out, you trigger yourself to go to an extent of doing some violence activity. Domestic violence is rarely spoken about in a private family matter. It's no longer that. I see that even today I had a client who is above 55 from a very backward Sri Lankan community. She was, when she experienced this, she was searching for me. She came all the way to tell this is what's happening in my life. So they are now open to speak. The other thing is those days they were thinking that the family will split if they try to do this kind of stuff. Nowadays, the children are born in Australia and they understand what is domestic violence, and they are more broader minded than the parents. And they tell the parents, no, you have to get out of this man. Do you need him in your life? So they understand that there are support systems in this country, that there are financial support, and there are other things that they can do in their life. So they come out nowadays and openly talk to the community. Domestic violence only happens where there is unemployment, poverty in the family. No, domestic violence happens all the time because it is the thing that their mindset is speaking to them to behave in such a manner. And also now the husband and wife working from home, that has created a lot of domestic violence in the COVID period. Women know their rights and can leave the situation if they want is a myth. The strong sense of silence and secrecy often go with domestic violence. Women fear speaking out. The violence causes low self-esteem, and no one wants their family to break up. That is the bottom line. Nobody wants to break a family system thinking of children and stuff. Women hope this violence will stop some stage. It never happens most of the time. Some women provoke violence and they are part of the problem is a myth again. No family deserves violence. Dealing with problems in a way they don't involve violence is the key, not blaming the victim. So women do not provoke, men get provoked for so many simple reasons, and they want to assert and exercise their power over the fear of the women. Causes or excuses what people give are these. Financial pressure on the family causes stress. Drug and alcohol abuse by one or more family members, gambling by either partner, abuse within extended families, generational abuse, typical and acceptable male behavior, culturally acceptable behavior. What do we call as male behavior? You mean to say the wife has always subject herself to all the wishes of the male? Is that what's expected by male behavior? So that's a question with how you handle your family. And culturally accepted. Because I had one client, he came to the court, it was all sorted. We were able to save him from the judgment and all those things. And final word, yeah, the magistrate asked something. He said, oh, that's part of my culture, hitting wife. And I just raised my hand. That's it. That was the end of the story. And everything turned from that point. So there's no culture teaches you to hit your wife. There's no culture teaches you to abuse your wife. There's no culture teaches you that you have to subordinate the woman. If you have read that in any scripture, the scripture is wrong. We all believe in interfaith. Today we are here celebrating all faiths which teaches good things. At least at this stage, we should understand culture and faith always teach us to do good things. Signs of domestic and family violence: seem afraid of their partner or someone else close to them. Some women, you will say, for everything, even simple thing what they can decide on their own, they won't do it because they get abused. Seem anxious, depressed, unusually quiet or less confident. Have a partner who is controlling, obsessive or jealous. Have a partner who has threatened to harm their children or pets. I know one of my family member, he told, if you want to go to this person, you have to leave the children and go with them, and you don't stay with me. It's their own kith and kin, but she was not allowed to do that. Have a partner who is depressed or suicidal. Stop contact with friends and family for no good reason. know or suspect they are being stalked or receive constant text or phone calls from their partner, appear neglected or unable to access their money or belongings. How do you find, as domestic violence officer, how do we get the indicators about domestic violence? Physical injuries, broken bones, no explanation on injuries, nail marks, threat to safety, intimidation, harassment, current or previous police involvements, feelings of sadness and depression, low self-esteem, difficulty in concentration or focus, being denied access to funds or resources, and not isolate themselves with associating with other people. These are some of the things, and they are overprotective of children, avoidance of discussing about children, current or previous separation in the relationship, extensive use of medications. Some people use painkillers constantly because they don't know what else to do, lack of self-esteem and self-confidence, problem with sleep or sleeplessness, nervous or withdrawn behaviors, aggressive behaviors or language, isolation from friends and family community, medical psychosomatic illness such as headaches, stomach problems, eating disorders, difficulty with friendship, and all those things. It has impact on children. That is the main thing one should always remember before they start their violent behavior. Children and young people, I call. Physical injuries, bedwetting or soiling, psychosomatic illnesses for children, behavioral problems, anxious or fearful behaviors, aggressive languages, developmental delay, nervous or withdrawn behavior. All these things have impacts. And sometimes it also causes advanced maturity. Some children are highly mature beyond their age. Sense of responsibility comes because if the children are abused in the family, one of the older son or the older child takes care of the other people, disturbed sleep, nightmare, use of drugs, alcohol, difficulty forming and maintaining relationship, poor social skills, lacking in confidence, poor self-esteem, sad depression, sadness, eating disorders, and self-harming behaviors among children. Now, let us check the migrants, what's happening with them. Financial pressure, in particular, the financial pressure of supporting relatives in back home. They try to send all the money and there's no money left to maintain the family. Gambling, changes in women's attitude, expectations, and roles once they migrate, and that creates problem in the families. Relationship difficulties, including issues related to children, which was seen to put pressure on relationship, and male behaviors and attitudes, in particular response to the changed role of women in Australia, because when they come, the women have certain set of rules get changed and they try to behave to meet the requirement of the society here, which male members cannot take. Cultural differences, culture shock, and context of mixed marriages, provocation from women experience the freedom of women's right and all those things. So sometimes refugees have this problem because they have pre-arrival torture, trauma, rape, and sexual violence, post-traumatic stress disorder, problems experienced during resettlements, racism's experience, loss of dreams, loss of status, and all those things. So when something happens in somebody's family in relation to domestic violence, you're not alone. There's a lot of support in this country. Police is the first thing, then 1-800-RESPECT is the other number, which said Safe Steps is one organization, Family Violence Outreach Services, WHW, Legal Services, where Women Legal Service help, Child First, Child Protection Services. All these organizations are helpful, and Domestic Violence Hotline, which is 1-800-656-463. To report suspected child abuse and neglect, helpline is there, 132-111. 1-800-RESPECT National Helpline, Women's Crisis Line is there, Men's Referral Service, and Relationship Australia. All these organizations are there to help. And if violence happens, what happens, we will see in another session about AVOs and how the courts handle and what you should do when you are in a domestic violence situation. Thank you for the opportunity today to speak about this subject to a small group. Hope this can reach some of the community members. With the faith we have, all of us are common in one thing. We believe in interfaith. We respect other faiths. We should also respect other human being, fellow human being. With this note, let me open to the floor for any questions.
Oh, that's a lot of information that you have packed in a few minutes, but that shows the depth of your involvement and in this area. Okay, you can all unmute and ask questions or comments or whatever it is. Oh, the one question that came to my mind that you mentioned that during the COVID that it has increased.
Yes, that's the statistics you see all over the world, I believe, because husband and wife start working from home, and the children become big responsibility. The children do not go to school. Back home in India, the schools were closed, or in Sri Lanka, and in all over the place, there's chaos about children's timings. And if both partners working from home, they have to do the work from home, they have to take care of the children, they have to do other things, which really, really stresses the families.
Chandrika, sorry, you finish.
So I was going to ask, I mean, family or husband and wife, they are supposed to be living together.
Yeah.
So the COVID has given an opportunity for them to spend more time to be together. Is it because they are unable to adjust to the new situation, or the male dominance is?
It is. See, when the children go to school, the wife takes everything and she just pack them up, pack their food, go and drop them in school and go. Then 3 o'clock she comes home. She's able to finish the work peacefully at work. And the husband doesn't know anything until they come at 6 o'clock and there's real dinner time, 1 hour study time or something. The time was minimal, so they didn't have to feel the pressure. But here, the wife has to work from home. She can't leave that computer and come and do anything for the children. So it has to be a shared and cared situation which they have to develop, which they are not mentally prepared to do.
So I had a question on interfaith. So I was just wondering where you've seen examples of where perhaps there could be a faith response to this issue rather than a legal response.
There may be, because of their workload and other things. I don't think that none of these people allocate any time for any faith, whether they come from any. They try to do a Diwali in a very grand way. That's part of their culture, they say. They try to do a Pongal or whatever the celebration, or Christmas or whatever it is. But the faith and the underlying love, affection, and what the faiths teach, do they really take into their mind is a very big question for me.
Do you see anywhere where a faith somebody's used a faith response, like had a priest or a minister or a rabbi or something that's gone and tried to deal with the issue?
Yes, we had Justice Department Advisory, Multicultural Advisory Board, and I was one of the members. In that, we brought certain resolutions saying that we should train all the marriage celebrants and the priests to get a domestic violence training, and they can speak to the community. Unfortunately, that funding was stopped, and the Justice Advisory Board is now does not exist now. But we did a great job for 2-3 years in that, and we were trying to get those implemented with the churches and the temples and the mosques and stuff, which we said all the marriage celebrants should be given the power to advise the client about domestic violence and stuff, and where they can seek some kind of a mediation and things like that. The faith can definitely do if they're going to temple and if they're going to church, if they're going to think. But the thing is, it has all become a ritual that they go to temple, they straight away go to the main shrine, and go to the food park, buy some food and come home. It's not the faith. The faith is something different for me.
Yeah, true.
Could I say something? Dr. Chandrika, I have gone through this training for clergy a long time ago. It's sort of different clergy coming together from different religion groups. I've done another course for leaders, community leaders, and then Uniting Church. When I went on a holiday actually it was supposed to be a holiday, a 1-week break to Brisbane, the Brisbane Regional Church organized a proper DV 2-day training. It was a solid training, but I just want to say that and one said that you talked within these few minutes so much, and I was very flabbergasted. You gave so much of information within this short time, and particularly with myth and truth, and it was really good, and I thank you for that. The churches are trying their best. I mean, I'm a marriage celebrant, and I usually don't carry out a marriage without sitting with the couple for 3 to 4 times minimum. In Sri Lanka here as well. We talk about every little thing, every area of life before they decide to tie the knots. And churches take it very seriously. I know we have failed in the past. I mean, abuse had happened within the church, and churches have been, taken to task on that, and we know about it. And the priests have been taken to task. So we are not saints in that way. No one is a saint, but the churches, temples, or religious organization must responsibility because they work with people. They work with children. That's second thing. The other thing is interesting. You would have watched it. It came in the don't know whether it's the ABC program where this guy was actually carrying out an experiment, intentional experiment on children. There were 6-year-old children, girls and boys, trying to sort of find out how they grow up as boys and girls, what they perceive themselves to be, what they perceive girls to be, the boys, how they perceive themselves, the girls, how they perceive, and how they perceive each other. And then particularly the jobs, in certain jobs, they say, that is a girl's job, this is the boy's job. But then they bring people from various backgrounds, and it was a police officer, a woman, ambulance driver, a woman, and a mechanic, particularly, and then the man was a dance teacher. So just to teach children, you touch on the children, they perceive everything very early in their life, and they are victims in many ways. But I think the country, the federal government, and the state governments, all of us are responsible for our children. Children, how are they growing up to be, and are we providing the necessary environment and the teaching and the mindset and the understanding of who a boy and a girl in the first place, and then families, and so that's something that really I don't know whether any one of you have watched that, but I think even anxiety thing, they try to sort of find out from a kindergarten child. If the kindergarten child shows anxiety or behavioral changes, then the teacher goes into the matter, supposed to go in the matter, and they eventually invariably find out something is happening at home. And what's happening within the Tamil community here, and what are the practical things you are doing, Doctor?
What's the last question? Sorry, Tamil community.
In the Tamil community, we are actually looking into mental health of refugees, migrants, and all that. So on this matter, I know we get letters from federal government and other organizations about domestic violence, and but as a Tamil community, what are we doing in Sydney, Sydney?
So we try to do a lot of workshops for them, and there are other organizations are actively involved because I do only presentations for them. Other than that, I don't think there's much happening. Especially the refugee community, they come with the the basics what they got from their own country.
Yeah.
And the Indian community is totally different because they do something else. Like, they come as the employers and then they're educated, but despite of the education, the domestic violence help happens in the community. So it's different. Each subcontinent country developed different kind of attitude towards domestic violence.
The cultural thing is very important because the
Yes.
first training that we went through, the domestic violence person who trained us took it very lightly, and I challenged him in that meeting. He actually came late. He didn't bring the right video. And the first two problems he created, and then he didn't listen to the cultural backgrounds, particularly from the Islamic background.
Yeah.
I know that domestic violence. There's it cannot happen. But if we are going to train, it becomes the normality. It's normal for people to do that in certain cultures, certain backgrounds. So, and the TV training people must take that into account and work very intensely with that to train the people and to get them out of their former cultural, traditional way of life, where a woman is subjected to the husband and has no voice, and a man can, in certain religions, can marry second time, whatever. In Christian religion, some people they ask the question whether you will obey the husband at the wedding service in Orthodox churches. One of my parishioners married an Orthodox young man. Both of them were doctorate holders, the great fellows, both of them. But she said, I don't want to get married in Orthodox church. So I had to sit with both of them to prepare for that particular time they spent in the church. But in the Bible, it says, obey your husbands. But at the same time, telling the husband, be kind to your wives. And, to show tender loving care, to balance that. So I just want to mention that so you can respond to that.
I
Yeah,
have
the
a
thing is
question.
that the religion, the spiritual, the religious belief, the spirituality, and the faith are three different things according to me.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'm making any sense to you.
No.
But whatever the religion has said, it's said in a particular language, and people who interpret, they interpret according to their own agenda.
Yeah.
So that's why all these people misunderstand what religion has said.
Absolutely.
I have a question. How can we prevent it before it happens in our
So
community?
that's what we have to educate them, especially people who migrate. They have to get an education about what's domestic violence and whatever I've told today, and what will be the aftermath if they happen to behave like that. Because I had one client who was a medical professional dating with children. He said, no, it's normal in the culture. I said, no, the moment you hit your wife, next time when you apply for your visa, there won't be a visa for you because there is a criminal record and you will not be allowed to come into this country. To make him to understand, it took some time.
But it's very subtle, very subtle, because I was thinking of myself, what am I doing to my wife? Sometimes if certain things happen and I go quiet and I'll talk only the next day. So I will do my own things and then come back and coffee time, I'll say, what did you watch last night or whatever. But, it's very subtle how you can get into a bubble sort of thing, and then leave the partner in limbo, and then expecting the other to compromise or accept that as a norm. So when you touch that, and I thought, oh boy, I am guilty of that, because I go quiet sometimes when I can't sort of handle things, and I go quiet, and then poor Shanti had to sort of put up with it and adjust to my own moods, yeah. So I am saying it is so subtle, the domestic violence, and we have to be very conscious, isn't it? Everything we do, say, and not sometimes not say.
Lawrence, Marina, any questions, comments?
No, I was just about to say, John, you have to forgive as a minister, not
Too much
Shanti
for
has to
your
forgive.
head. You get a headache.
No, Shanti doesn't have to forgive John. You have to forgive as a minister.
I think it's a vast area. It's a lot of complexities in this violent situation. Unless it's reported, it doesn't constitute a violence.
Hmm.
So only when it is reported, then
Yes.
the inquiry starts. Then, but if you, as you mentioned in your cultural background, an Islamic couple, if they come from Pakistan or India or Sri Lanka for that matter, those are norms. Hitting the wife, making her, enslaving her, those are some kind of a norm. So it differs from culture to culture and what they are trying, what they can put up with it. But when they come to Australia, there are different set of standards, but they can't simply understand all of a sudden or embrace it. So we have to give allowance for those things. And what I feel is, unless it's reported, it's not an abuse.
Yes.
They put up with the abuse, and as long as they can do it, so what's the problem? That's my question.
Yeah, that's the thing. The women are not empowered to face their situations and take a right decision. That's one thing we are trying to do now.
Yeah, okay.
Varna, you had to unmute.
I am on a, okay.
I think for Pati's question, it's not only the wife who is suffering, it is also the children, and it affects the children's life as well.
Yeah.
So these things has to be addressed at the initial stage and make sure that it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I think
the wife putting on with that is a different thing, but that is her
I agree.
problem.
I think to address this situation, you have to go to the very young age at school level and let them, give them a training to accept each gender as how they are.
Yeah.
Each personality is different and they are unique.
Yeah.
You can't change to your whims and fancies.
Yeah.
If you can accept, take her on, otherwise leave her alone.
Yeah.
And
I
you have
agree.
to train them in the small age to respect.
Yeah.
Respect the woman. That virtue has to be developed from them from the same age, the small age. And
Any nurturing or any shaping has to start in school level when they are young. It's very difficult to change. But our school curriculum doesn't have any of those programs. They don't even teach any manners or any moral or anything. So even in Australian schools, I don't think that mental development or cultural aspects as it is happening in Japan, where the formative 2 years, they are taught in moral and behaviors and patterns. We don't see that in any other countries. Maybe in Scandinavian countries you might find, but that's what is lacking. The fundamental mindset has to be developed.
That's a good point. I think, yes. So because as Chandrika said, that it's across all culture, it's not confined to any religion or any country or any social strata. So that shows it is entrenched in the men's mind, generation after generation. Now to change that, of course, at this age, it's very difficult for me to change, though we should try. But the education of the children, every country, everywhere, they had to be taught that these moral values, that men and women are equal. So I didn't know about the Japan that they had this one, but in our schools now Australia, they have what they call ethics. Is it?
Moral ethics.
Yeah, something similar to that. But I think we are beginning to realize universally that it should be a must at the early days of the child. Yes. Tracy, are you listening? Do you have any comments? She said she was driving, so she doesn't want to disturb us.
You say yes. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. Could I just say something? But it's because we are talking to a small group. Although you're going to record it, but it's nothing to worry about the recording. A few years ago, a young couple came to see me. I knew the boy very well, and it was an arranged marriage, but sort of they loved each other, they said, and the girl came on spouse migration, wanted to come and see me, and it was long, about 17, 18 years ago. And when I was talking, the way the girl was talking, I wasn't very happy, and I thought the way she said about a few things and the people whom she was associating herself within 2 weeks. And I took this young man to a side and said, are you sure you want to be married to this girl? He said, yes, I love her. I said, it's okay. I said, just go carefully with your marriage. If you really need my help or anyone's help, don't hesitate to ask for help. To cut the story short, the girl manipulated every little move. And the boy is a nice guy. I know the guy well. I know the family well. So she manipulated the whole thing, created a big scene, got him into trouble, and got out into a refuge. Got the support of women in DV programs, and ended in getting a PR from TP, and then getting down a father from foreign country was working, then the mother and the two siblings, and settled down not very far from the boy. So I decided to be careful with the boy, not to get into any more problem, and to keep him. They got the divorce anyway, and he's married again, and yes, he's in a nice family. But I challenged the ladies from the migrant resource center where I was at the time. 6 of them sat with me. I wrote 6 of a thesis sort of thing, and challenge them. Women can cause a situation where violence could come out, because men are strong. Men have the anger and all that we read from Dr. Chandrika, but it can be manipulated. And then the meeting ended, and but one day 3 of them came to my place and said, one of them said, Father John, I've taken all your points. I'm going to do a doctoral studies in this. And she did, and she got a doctorate. And she's working. I won't tell you, Dr. Chandrika, you might know the person also. But the thing is, there is another side that we have to work on.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I have seen in my life with my legal profession, women becoming manipulative to get things done the way they want to do. Some of the stuff I see nowadays, the young mothers who come and say they want to divorce, they have domestic violence, and the husband tries to convince and say that, no, it's a mistake. I understood that it's all thing, it will never happen. The wife is very strong to get divorced, and they also tell all the laws to me, saying that under this we can do this, we can do. That means they've done a thorough study.
Yes.
But that doesn't come from their own mind. They have some support which they have mentally prepared, or the support has mentally prepared them to divorce the husband and get into another relationship.
Yep.
I just get the body language and stuff. I don't assume things, but I suspect. But it happens 99.9%. It's my assumption is correct, that they have some support. That's why they're very boldly, they want to leave the children and go. Normally, young mothers don't like to leave the children. They will leave the husband, but not the children. But here they don't mind the outcome because they have somebody else to shelter them. Unfortunately, the world is heading towards that.
Yeah. So Perry, I just want to tell a joke, and so that we will sort of feel a little bit sort of elated.
It's too heavy. Yeah, we should wind up now. Yeah.
95-year-old couple decided to divorce. So that's the question. Why? Why did you wait so long? He said, no, we brought up our children, and then we had grandchildren, and we wanted to enjoy the grandchildren and make them happy. Then we had great grandchildren. Now we don't want to go any further. We can't live with each other.
And what percentage of our children, our community, what percentage of the children are being affected by it?
Oh, yeah.
Are you asking Chandrika, wasn't it?
Yeah, Chandika.
Yeah, what's it? Sorry.
No, what percentage of the children are being affected by this?
I told you in the initial stage, all the children who experience domestic violence at home are affected. Either they become very rude, or they are withdrawn from the society, or they're affected in many ways. Their psychology, education, everything get health, everything get affected. All the children who witness domestic violence, 100% they are affected.
And she said that boys are likely to, if they were present, boys are likely to continue this. Yes. So these, though it is a domestic violence issue, and teaching young children about the gender equality, but I think they have to be taught many other things. Yeah, you said that, you know, psychological, the different kinds of abuse. Some of them was jealous, right?
Yes.
Now, you may teach men and women are equal, you have to respect, but if you have these qualities, anger or jealous or greed or these kinds of things, again, they are going to, you cited examples of the women manipulating the men. So we have to teach all the good morality to the children. And this is fundamental teachings in all the religions as well. So unfortunately, we have ignored that part of it, and we practice the different aspect of the religion. I mean, in the countries like, you know, story of Malala in Pakistan, you know, she wanted to go to school.
Yeah.
And she was deprived of that. And when she wanted to go, she was almost killed. So this, and you mentioned that our thinking is that on western side of Sydney, we will have more, but you said that in the northern
Sydney,
is higher.
Yeah.
So the so-called education that we have,
it doesn't help you.
doesn't actually help as such. So fundamentally, there's some other education which Lawrence was saying is that's what we have to focus on. So do you, you are in an advisory capacity, are you still in those capacity, and whether there are any ways to?
Yeah, we finished a white paper for Justice Department, and that's the one. Then it also moved to a level of white paper on dowry system in federal government. So they are doing a lot of stuff in relation to this. So it'll happen.
Marina, any questions?
No, it was a very, very good.
Thank you.
Marina is
lot of information.
Thank you very much.
Listen to it over and over again.
I believe
Because
you
I
have
would have to
I think you have a PowerPoint presentation. If you don't
Yeah, I
mind,
have it. I can share it for you.
share it, then it will be very useful because a lot of information and you give it in a short time.
Yeah. No, I will send it to you by email.
Okay,
And the other thing is, there are a lot of points you mentioned. Each one could be elaborated a lot more, like the
Yeah.
psychological.
I was a bit time conscious because it was
Yeah, that's it.
this goes for 2 hours sometimes, so I wanted to finish within half an hour. I don't know how many minutes I took.
You did well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Maybe in future, probably in another session, probably we will have more audience. And now that you have recorded, we can share it with the wider
I will
audience.
send it to you. Yeah.
And,
It may be in your computer,
yeah.
sitting in the Zoom folder.
Okay, so
Yeah, check that later, not now. Open your Zoom folder, that will be sitting as a video, then you share it with everyone and to me as well. You can email me.
And next week, Marina is going to present, isn't it, Marina?
Yeah, but it's not going to be anywhere close to what Chandrika has done.
No, that's fine.
It's only on suffering. Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah, can you do humor in